Welcome back, dear S6 biology majors. I hope last time you remember where we had stopped. So today we are going to resume our session as we continue with osmoregulation, lesson 1. Because last time, if you remember very well, we had stopped on exclusion and osmoregulation, but a small part of osmoregulation, where we had talked about different stages of urine formation. I hope you remember ultrafiltration, you remember selective reabsorption, you remember circulation. So today's session we are going to explain in details about osmoregulation. So now, you know, when we talk about osmoregulation, basically we are trying to talk about the balance of water content and the iron content in blood. So let us now start with this. We are going to see how the water potential of blood is regulated in our body. So I hope there's this hormone, and it is not for the first time. I know you are familiar with this hormone from S3. Antidiuretic hormone, ADH. ADH affects the permeability of the stock-convoluted tube and collecting duct. So what happens here, once there is an increase or rise in blood osmotic pressure, this may be caused by any one of or a combination of 3 factors. So basically we have 3 factors which may cause an increase in osmotic pressure of blood. One factor, just in case maybe you take little water or little water is being consumed, or once you take too much salt, like in your nutrients, large amount of salt being taken, or like once you do exercise and again you experience much sweating. So basically all these 3 main factors are the ones which trigger a rise in blood osmotic pressure. So again, let us see what would happen just in case when the blood osmotic pressure increases in our body. The rise in blood osmotic pressure is detected by osmoreceptor in the hypothalamus of the brain. So what does it mean? You know, hypothalamus is the part of the brain. Okay? So now in the hypothalamus, you have these specialized cells, we call them osmoreceptors. They are the ones which monitor or detect if there is an increase in osmotic pressure of blood. So once that one happens, basically it is just in the nerve impulses passing to the second part of hypothalamus, which is posterior lobe pituitary gland, which releases antidiuretic hormone, ADH, which is also called vasopressin, into the bloodstream. So what does it mean here? Number one, we have had osmoreceptor cells are the ones which detect rise in blood osmotic pressure. Again, here is a question: which part of the brain where you expect the ADH to be produced? The ADH is produced from the hypothalamus, but again it is stored in the posterior lobe or pituitary gland. So to mean, once it is stored in the posterior lobe or pituitary gland, it is now the posterior lobe or pituitary gland which releases antidiuretic hormone into the bloodstream. So you know, as ADH is a hormone, for it to reach on its target organ, it has to be transported via bloodstream. So that's why here they say the ADH is transported in the bloodstream to the kidney which means the kidney here is the target organ for ADH hormone. So once ADH is transported in the bloodstream to the kidney, what does it increases the permeability of the stock-convoluted tube and collecting duct to water and urea. This now results into a hyperosmotic medulla and a more hypotonic urine or concentrated urine is released from the kidney. Again, let us see, just in case ADH hormone increases, you have had the effect of ADH hormone. The role of ADH here is to increase the permeability of collecting duct to urea, which passes into the medulla. So now, increase in the osmotic concentration causing more water to be lost from the descending limb of loop of Henry. So that is another effect. Again, let us go on the however side, then we analyze what would happen if the osmotic pressure of blood falls down as a result of maybe once you take a large volume of water. Again, once you experience this, like little sweating occurring, or just in case once you take the nutrients, but the nutrients which contain low salt intake. So these are the factors which would lower the osmotic pressure of blood. So again, here there is also another response in line with the ADH. Then the ADH production is inhibited and the walls of the stock-convoluted tube and the collecting duct remain impermeable to water and urea. As a result, less water is reabsorbed, hypotonic urine is released. So basically that is another kind of mechanism, just in case the osmotic pressure of blood falls down. Again, we can't leave the regulation, how water potential of blood is regulated, without talking about this condition, which is called the diabetes insipidus. I hope you remember from regulation of glucose in senior 5, diabetes mellitus. But again, let us also take our time and try to understand diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus, this is a condition where the posterior lobar gland is not able to produce sufficient levels of ADH. As a result of this, the patient permanently produces large amount of dilute urine. So you have heard that now this type of diabetes is also serious because this person is producing a large amount of dilute urine, and again this could lead to too much dehydration of body and the person die on spot. So the symptom is known as diuresis. So that's why now the doctors, they recommend us to drink large amount of water just in case you have this condition which is called diabetes insipidus. Now, you have had the regulation of water potential of blood. Now, when you look at this cycle, basically the cycle here is summarizing water balance, the regulation of water potential of blood. So now, zoom, okay, try to start with osmoreceptor cells. You have had osmoreceptor cells. These are specialized cells which are located in the hypothalamus. And again, remember what I said about hypothalamus. The antidiuretic hormone is produced in the hypothalamus, but again, it is stored in the posterior lobe of pituitary gland. So that's why there you see now they say osmoreceptor cells in hypothalamus trigger the release of ADH. Again, now the ADH which is produced by hypothalamus, the ADH goes down via the bloodstream and again it reaches in the posterior lobe of pituitary gland. That's where the body detects the dehydration signal from hypothalamus to the posterior lobe of pituitary gland. And again, what posterior lobe of pituitary gland does, you can check from the arrow. The arrow indicates it clearly. Posterior pituitary gland releases ADH into the blood stream. So now once the ADH is in the blood stream, again it has to be transported to the kidney tube. Now we have two tubes. We have distal convoluted tube, we have collecting duct. So what ADH does is to increase the amount of water reabsorption into these two tubules. So, and again from there, as water reabsorption helps further osmolarity increases, again it returns to the homeostasis, blood osmolarity. Again, on the left-hand side, you see here they say sustain, which has to be detected by hypothalamus. Drinking reduces blood osmolarity to the set point, and again it goes down, it returns back to the homeostasis, which is basically the balance now. So again, downward on the collecting duct, as now collecting duct and the distal convoluted tube, they are becoming more permeable to water. Guess what would happen? You see now, they indicate us how concentrated urine is produced. Again, the last but not least, let us also talk about how urine is released. After leaving the collecting duct, the urine follows continuously down the urethra and into the bladder. Then remember the bladder, now we are talking here basically, it is connected to the outside environment via urethra. So which means urine released to the environment depends on how full the bladder is, or number of muscles. You understand now? There are two factors. Depends on how full the bladder is, or again it depends on the number of muscles. So here are two scenarios. Number one, when the bladder is empty, nerve impulses from sympathetic nervous system causes its muscles to relax and causes its opening into the urethra by contracting an internal sphincter muscle. It does so because the sympathetic nervous system is under involuntary control. Okay, so another point here you have to pay much attention on it. They say when the bladder is full, nerve impulses from the parasympathetic nervous system causes the internal sphincter muscles to relax and the bladder wall to contract. Now, guess what is going to happen? Urine enters the urethra. However, the urine can be prevented from being released by contraction of an external sphincter muscles, which is under voluntary control. So that's why at some point, just in case your bladder is full of urine, you can just stay there with such a volume of urine in the bladder due to this factor of external sphincter muscle, which is under voluntary control. So that's why most people, they are conditioned, they can just stay longer when their bladder is full. Okay,